intercept the funeral procession at a roadblock 40 kilometers south of the commercial city of Blantyre. Inside the hearse, they found an empty casket, about 30 large bags of charcoal packed underneath. The suspects were briefly detained but later escaped custody, leaving behind the impounded hearse. Charcoal smuggling is common in the southern African country and one of the main causes of rampant deforestation, although this method of transporting the illicit goods was new. Reports say at least 20 people have been killed in the northern town of Titao, Burkina Faso, in attacks claimed by the JNIM, a militant group linked to Al-Qaeda. Amongst the dead were 7 Ghanaians who had been burnt beyond recognition and yet to be identified. They were part of a team of tomato traders on a supply truck targeted by the militants. Ghana's interior minister says road access to the area remains blocked while they try to evacuate other citizens who survived. Burkina Faso's military rulers have not confirmed an official death toll. President Donald Trump says Ukraine must be prepared to come to the table fast to reach a deal with Russia as the two sides prepare for the Washington brokered talks in Geneva. 2 previous rounds of U.S.-mediated talks in Abu Dhabi did not produce a breakthrough. The BBC's James Waterhouse says the condition hardly feels favorable to Kyiv.
We come off the back of the Munich Security Conference where Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, gave a much-anticipated speech to his European allies. He didn't mention Ukraine once. And then you have Volodymyr Zelensky, who is talking with an almost exasperated abandon these days, where he's, again, trying to bat off these proposals to surrender more territory to Russia in exchange for a peace deal. From the Ukrainian side, they would rather keep fighting than.
For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onelin Sinsi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, CAF President Patrice Motsepe insists that the 2027 AFCON tournament will go ahead as scheduled in East Africa, while Yannick Sinner turns winning ways at the Qatar Open. I'll tell you more at 12:30.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
It is 12:05 Central African time and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa on Channel Africa from an African perspective. We are on DSTV's audio bouquet channel 802, on OpenView channel 628 and on www.channelafrica.co.za as well as on the SABC Plus app and Channel Africa app available on the Apple and Google Play stores. Join us in conversation on our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and YouTube at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. On hashtag Africa Update, asked, the United States and Iran are holding talks in Geneva to address their long-running nuclear dispute. There is little sign of compromise as Washington continues to build a military presence in the region. Now, we want to know what your take is on these talks and do you think anything will come of it? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Téléchargez l'application Channel Africa sur votre Play Store ou Apple Store afin de pouvoir suivre toutes nos émissions en direct de là où vous vous trouvez. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Coming up in this hour, a group of migrants have arrived in Cameroon as part of the U.S. immigration deportation plan, and recent reports accuse the Zimbabwean government of targeting diaspora critics.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126, and we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So yeah, that's who I am, you know.
It's not just talk, it's your chance to air your views, share your opinion, engage with the community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:08 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. At least 59 people died when Cyclone Gezani struck Madagascar last week. The Disaster Management Office said on Monday, as it assesses the impact of the second tropical storm to hit the Indian Ocean island nation this year. Innocent Samosa has more.
The death toll from Cyclone Gezani in Madagascar has risen to 59, with 804 people injured, according to an update released Monday by the National Office for Risk and Disaster Management, BNGRC. The BNGRC said more than 420,000 people were affected across 25 districts in 5 regions in eastern and central Madagascar. The cyclone also damaged more than 49,000 houses and destroyed over 25,000 houses. Authorities are continuing to assess damage and carry out relief operations in the affected areas, while assistance to impacted populations is underway. The Malagasy government declared a state of national disaster on February 11 in response to the widespread devastation caused by Cyclone Gezani. For Channel Africa News, I'm Innocent Samosa in Johannesburg, South Africa.
The sound of Africa is evolving. Experience our new mobile app. Free to download, free to connect. Channel Africa 1060. 6 decades of stories, voices, and vision.
About 100 United States military personnel have arrived in Nigeria as Washington ramps up an operation to target Islamist insurgents. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Nigeria of failing to protect Christians from Islamist militants in the northwest. Tutongobeni has more.
Nigeria has denied discriminating against any religion, saying its security forces target armed groups that attack both Christians and Muslims. In December, the United States carried out strikes targeting Islamic State-linked militants, and a small U.S. military team has been operating on the ground to boost Nigeria's intelligence capabilities. The U.S. military's Africa Command said the strike was carried out in Sokoto State in coordination with Nigerian authorities and killed multiple ISIS militants. According to flight tracking data, in recent days, several planes carrying U.S. troops and equipment have headed to Nigeria's northern states. Major General Samaila Uba, spokesperson for Nigeria's defense headquarters, has said the troops would train and advise local forces but not take part in combat. Earlier this month, Nigeria's military said it expected around 200 more U.S. troops. Presidential spokesperson Sunday Dare said Nigeria needed massive support from the U.S. government in terms of fighter jets and munitions, but declined to give numbers or a time frame. Nigeria's 240 million people are evenly split between Christians, mainly in the south, and Muslims, mainly in the north. The government has acknowledged serious security problems, including from Islamist fighters, but has denied that Christians face widespread or systematic persecution. For Channel Africa News, I am Tutongobeni in Johannesburg.
Africa Update, Your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
The United States and Iran are holding talks in Geneva to address their long-running nuclear disputes. There is little sign of compromise as Washington continues to build a military presence in the region. U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are participating with talks mediated by Oman alongside Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. And to chat to us about the importance of such talks, we are joined on the line by Amir Bakherioromi, a South African Iranian independent political analyst and writer focusing on Iran, the Middle East and global power dynamics. Amir, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon to you and all your viewers. Thank you for having me.
Now, what are the key sticking points preventing a compromise between the US and Iran?
For me, the biggest sticking point is not necessarily the technicalities of the negotiations. It's predominantly about trust. I think Iran does not trust the United States to honor an agreement in the long term because the last nuclear deal collapsed after years of negotiations. So from Tehran's perspective, why should they make, concessions again without strong guarantees? On the other side, however, the US does not trust Iran's intention and wants strict limits and verifications before easing sanctions. So both sides want security first, trust first, and neither one of them really want to move first. So there's also a deeper layer, and that's the fact that Iran wants meaningful sanctions to be relieved, and they are looking to improve the economy to a great extent. And the US wants nuclear limits without really wanting to empower Iran regionally. So it's not just about uranium, it's about leverage, sequencing and political survival on both sides.
So what should happen now? Because at some point they have to work together if they do reach some sort of agreement or compromise and how significant is Oman's role as mediator, and can Oman influence the outcome?
Right, great question. I mean, what should happen now? I really don't know either. I think, Iran in the past, under the Obama administration, for example, was able to sit at the negotiation table and actually reach a deal. But the current, Trump administration, they have over and over again shown themselves to be extremely unpredictable and an administration that really operates from a very transactional point of view that only benefits the US and not necessarily the counterpart. Now, to kind of talk about what is Oman's role, Oman's role is important, but it's a quiet role. And that's generally how Oman has been historically. They've both, Oman as a country has been trusted by both Washington and Tehran because it doesn't, want to take a grandstand in these negotiations. What Oman has also shown over and over again during these negotiations are the fact that the information about negotiations that take place don't get leaked into media, which other countries have not been able to fully, seal in their respective countries and negotiation process. And, in these tense negotiations, sometimes what matters most is having a channel that both sides can feel safe using. And Oman definitely plays that role for both countries. We have to keep in mind that Oman's role is not to help prevent escalation. I don't think they can really do that. They don't have the political power to do that. But because they are a trusted party by both sides, they can create a platform for everybody to come together and discuss things without it getting messy or leaking to media.
Now, let's talk about indirect involvement. What does indirect involvement by President Donald Trump mean for the negotiations?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that as well. I don't really know what he means, and I think a lot of people don't either. But I think what he's trying to suggest is that politics is shaping diplomacy and not necessarily the other way around. And this current administration in the US operates differently, from traditional institutional diplomacy. It's more personality driven and more transactional, like I said, and often more unpredictable. Indirect involvement can mean maybe signaling strength publicly while leaving negotiations, negotiation spaces privately. But from an Iran's perspective, I think the key issue is durability. They always operate from a place where they need more time. And if a deal is reached this time around, the main questions for the Iranian side is whether it will survive another political change in Washington. Again, a reminder that Iran had reached the deal during the Obama administration, and Trump administration just did not commit to it and pulled out from it. So for Iran, negotiations is not just about the current administration, but rather whether there will be survival of this deal in future administration, and whether this kind of uncertainty about future of American politics can affect the way in which they negotiate a deal. So they're treating this uncertainty in Tehran with a lot more cautious than the American side is doing.
Now, with the presence, with the U.S. military buildup in the region, which is a major presence, what sort of impact does that have on Iran's negotiating stance?
Yeah, I think, this kind of military buildup is meant to signal deterrence from the American side. It sends a message that, diplomacy is preferred, but force is available. And however, there's a political reality inside Iran, and no Iranian leadership can appear to negotiate because they were intimidated. The Iranians have always shown that they don't negotiate from a place of intimidation, and if they do it this time, that would frame Iran and the current government as domestically weak. So while I think, the military pressures may strengthen the US's position strategically, but it can also harden Iran's stance politically, because it limits the space for more liberal and moderate Iranian political leaders, and it only empowers and provides ammunition to the hardliners and conservatives in Iran, because they are doing everything that they are doing in the name of protecting the sovereignty and the borders of Iran. And that's a message that, mass majority of Iranians would be able to subscribe to, despite their dissatisfaction with the current government at a local level.
And how might a deal or a failure to reach one affect U.S. relations with allies like Israel and Gulf countries?
Yeah, great question. I mean, look, if the deal is reached, Israel's current leadership may publicly oppose it. They have in the past as well, especially if they believe it leaves Iran with long-term nuclear capabilities. That's how they felt during the Obama's administration and the deal that was reached in that era. But on the other hand, some Gulf countries may quietly welcome the reduced tensions. I think stability helps their economies and long-term planning. It's good for their economies. So if talk fails, the risk increases that Israel might consider acting independently, with the US as a proxy supporting them in the background. And at the same time, the Persian Gulf states may hedge, wanting to perhaps strengthen their ties with the likes of China or Russia in order to be able to have some sort of a power insurance in case US goes against, its promises to the neighboring Persian Gulf countries. So this is only about, this isn't only about Iran and US, it's about America's credibility in the region, but in the globe as a whole as well. So it's not at all an easy decision, to reach at the end of the day.
today we're posing a question, Amir, to our listeners and viewers with regards to the US and Iran holding talks in Geneva. And we have a response. And Hastings Kawete says America will attack Iran and the topic is useless. What's your take on such, thoughts or ideas from individuals? Because this clearly has been an ongoing issue for many years.
No, you're absolutely right. And the person you're quoting, I mean, I fully understand. And sometimes deep inside, maybe I am aligned to that perspective as well. But, I'm a scholar of international relations, so I still like to have a tiny bit of hope in diplomatic, methods of reaching an agreement. But, it is true that the current US government has shown that diplomacy is nothing but a theatrical performance for them. We saw that with Venezuela. We are seeing it with Cuba. We saw it in the previous round of negotiations with Iran, when Iran was supposed to meet the US delegation within 24 hours. Then they were attacked by Israel and later on by the US as well. So I also have that suspicion that perhaps other analysts and ordinary people might have, that all of this is nothing but a theatrical show from the US's end. But what Iran is doing, I think, is relatively measured and calculated, because they do have their top diplomats ready for negotiation around the negotiation table. However, they also have all the army generals and the Revolutionary Guards leaders ready in the south of Iran, in the Persian Gulf, in case of escalation, particularly in that region, which Iran has said, they will block off the Strait of Hormuz should any tensions happen. And that's the region where mass majority of the oil in the world, travels through. So Iran is appearing to be doing this a lot more calculated than the US. But again, US government has shown to be unpredictable. Perhaps they're also planning things on their end that can, surprise the Iranian side.
Well, Amir, it's been a pleasure. We'll leave it there for today. We have run out of time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thank you, and you too. That's Amir Bahreyoromi, a South African Iranian independent political analyst and writer focusing on Iran, the Middle East, and global power dynamics.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo ndi
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Stay tuned to Channel Africa. Stream us on our new and updated website, channelafrica.co.za. 6 decades of rhythm, resonance, and relevance. We are Channel Africa, the African perspective. Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update, only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
26 after 12 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Today on hashtag Africa Update asks, the United States and Iran are holding talks in Geneva to address their long-running nuclear dispute. There is little sign of compromise as Washington continues to build a military presence in the region. We want to know what your take is on these talks, and do you think anything will come of it? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 hashtag Africa Update Us.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Broadcast excellence, rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
Lawyers say the United States deported another group of third country nationals to Cameroon just days after reports revealed that 9 migrants with no ties to the country were secretly sent there last month under the Trump administration. 8 non-Cameroonian migrants arrived in Yaoundé on the latest flight, and Cameroon-based lawyer Joseph Awafru is assisting some of the earlier deportees, and we have been trying to get a hold of Joseph just to unpack this particular story for us and for our listeners and viewers as to what exactly the legal protections that exist in Cameroon for third country nationals that are being deported there, and whether the steps that are being taken, if any, to assist these new group of deportees. So a lot to unpack on this front, and unfortunately we are not able to get a hold of Joseph now, but we will continue trying, and hopefully we will be able to give you exactly what we promised with regards to just having a discussion and conversation with him on this, and just legal avenues that exist if the deportees' home countries request their return, because this is also a possibility, and we're hoping that we will be able to chat to Joseph Awafru. And then also recent reports alleging that the Zimbabwean government may be targeting diaspora critics through a hit list of activists, journalists and opposition figures, particularly in South Africa and in the United Kingdom. And mind you, the hit list is in inverted commas. Those included in the hit list are Hopewell Chinono, Job Sikala and Tinashe Jonasi, among others. We spoke to Job Sikala last week, and he did say that list does exist and he is on the list, and he mentioned Hopewell Chinono as being one of the individuals on that list and many others. And we were hoping to speak to ZANU-PF Director for Information and Publicity, that's Farai Muroya Marapira, and just giving ZANU-PF a right of response on these allegations, because this is something that was said on air, on Channel Africa, on Africa Update. So it is a very interesting one to unpack. We're hoping to just for ZANU-PF spokesperson Farai to respond to the alleged hit list and, what it means and if it does exist, what is the purpose? And just for him to unpack this, as it is believed that this list does exist, and what the party's response is concerning the following, or rather the killing of Kuzai Saruwaka in Pretoria. So a lot to unpack. I beg your pardon, a lot to unpack on that front. So this is something that we're hoping to speak to Farai with regards to this big discussion. ZANU-PF Director for Information and Publicity, Farai Moroa Marapira. Hopefully we will get a hold of him and be able to unpack this story, a very big story. 12:31 and our news headlines up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says Africa will have to be united at a time where the global geopolitical system is changing. The president also responded to the recent statement made by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at a security conference in Munich, Germany, where Rubio indirectly endorsed imperialism. Police in Malawi are searching for 9 suspects who escaped from custody after being caught allegedly smuggling charcoal in a hearse disguised as part of a funeral procession. And the newly elected MPs have taken the oath of office in the Bangladeshi capital Dhaka. Later today, President Muhammad Shahabuddin will provide over the swearing in of the leaders of the BNP, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Tariq Rahman, as the country's new Prime Minister. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Mosibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe has dismissed reports suggesting the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations tournament that is scheduled to be hosted by Tanzania, Uganda as well as Kenya will be postponed to 2028. Now, speaking after the CAF Executive Committee EXO meeting in Tanzania, Motsepe described the reports which originated from the Guardian newspaper in England as unfounded. The 2027 edition, branded as the Pajoma AFCON, will mark the return of the continental showpiece in East Africa for the first time since 1976. Motsepe stressed that there are no plans to move or delay the 2027 continental tournament.
Media speculation, whether it's social media or even, I'm told, in the Guardian, the Guardian newspaper, in London, one of the most respected newspapers in the world, that there was an allegation that I am here to tell Tanzania and Kenya and Uganda that I'm taking away the AFCON because our 3 countries are not going to be ready. That's totally unfounded.
Now, among the major outcomes of the EXO meeting was the revelation that CAF is exploring the possibility of expanding the AFCON tournament from 24 to 28 teams after 2028. Motsepe says the discussions form part of the plans to rebrand as well as strengthen the competition following the decision to stage the tournament every 4 years.
And the AFCON, as we know it now, we want to increase it to 28 countries. And as we said, that will take place once every 4 years. But remember, the AFCON, as it is currently constituted, is an important part that we want to maintain, at least under the name of the Africa Nations League, have that coming together every 2 years. So every year there will be, we also want to build this regional or zonal competition. Because
on to this now, the Confederation of African Football will conduct the quarterfinal draws for both the Total Energy CAF Champions League as well as the Confederation Cup at the Egyptian football headquarters this afternoon. So the teams that have already qualified for the Confed quarterfinals are USM Alger of Algeria, Olympique de Safi of Morocco, Wydad Casablanca of Morocco, Menema FC of the DRC, CR Belouizdad of Algeria, Otoho Odor of Congo, Zamalek of Egypt as well as Al Masry of Egypt. Meanwhile, the teams qualified for the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League include the defending champions Pyramids FC of Egypt, Renaissance Bagan of Morocco, Al Ali of Egypt, Far Rabat of Morocco, Al Halil Omdurman of South Sudan, Mamelodi Sundowns from South Africa, Stade Milan of Mali, as well as Espérance Sportive de Tunis of Tunisia. Well, Amanda Anisimova advanced to the last 16 of the Dubai Open without playing a single game after Barbora Krejcikova, her opponent, withdrew from the last 32 due to a thigh injury. Now, she will face Yanis Shen, who beat Leila Fernandez in straight sets. The tournament has also been hit by a number of withdrawals, including Arina Sabalenka, the world number 1, as well as the world number 2, Iga Swiatek. Elsewhere, Emma Raducanu lost in the first round to Antonia Ruzic, while Coco Gauff as well as Elina Rybakina are set to begin their campaigns this afternoon. And finally, South African Rugby President Mark Alexander has congratulated 3 South African women referees on their appointments to upcoming Women's Six Nations competitions. Amy Barrett-Theron will reach a milestone in her 50th test, becoming the only second woman globally to do so, while Zoe Nordia joins her in the Senior Six Nations. At the same time, Gianni Viljoen will then referee in the inaugural Under-21 Women's Six Nations tournament. Alexander praised her dedication as well as the work of SA Referees Department, saying their achievements are a proud moment for South African officiating. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
The whole population of Africa has been shocked to the depth of its soul.
For 60 years, Channel Africa has been the voice that connects the continent, telling our stories and sharing our vision with the world. This year, we mark 6 decades of broadcast excellence.
60 years of stories, sound, and connection.
6 years of African conversations that matter.
This is 60 years of broadcast excellence.
Rooted in Africa's heartbeat and looking boldly into the future. Join Channel Africa as we celebrate 60 years of broadcasting. Still strong, still vibrant, and still giving you the African perspective.
Channel Africa.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. In our top business story this hour, Nedbank CEO Terence Sibiya says the signing of an $8 billion investment package between South Africa and the African Export-Import Bank is a major milestone. Sibiya says the deal has the potential of unlocking blended finance for infrastructure development across the continent. Speaking to Channel Africa on the sidelines of the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Sibiya said the partnership brings together public and private sector funding. The deal was signed in Johannesburg ahead of the summit.
And so the coming together of AfriExim and as well as the Republic of South Africa, including its banks like Nedbank, was a milestone that has to be celebrated, because what we're unlocking is blended finance that's proven to be a key unlock to funding projects that will, in essence, unlock a lot of African potential.
South Africa's power utility Eskom in the Gauteng province says it's lost close to $439 million in revenue due to electricity theft and illegal connections. 3 farmers and an Eskom employee are expected to appear in Johannesburg's Randfontein Magistrates Court today for bail application. The 4 suspects stand accused of meter tampering on farms in Randfontein and power theft from the national grid. Eskom Gauteng spokesperson Amanda Glitty says the employee is also facing disciplinary action.
This employee has been subjected to our disciplinary processes, and also when there is an alleged criminal conduct, we do institute parallel internal investigation while we allow the criminal justice system to take its course. Electricity theft and illegal connections, it remains a significant challenge across Gauteng and the country as a whole. Eskom, we've lost annually approximately 23 billion in revenue due to electricity theft, and in Gauteng alone, it contributes about 7 billion rand.
Kenya Airways is experiencing delays of up to 4 hours for departures out of the main Nairobi airport due to air traffic control delays. Members of the Kenya Aviation Workers Union went on strike on Monday in a labour dispute with Kenya's Civil Aviation Authority. Uganda Airlines said 2 of its flights had been cancelled. Nigeria's Dangote Group has signed a $400 million equipment deal with China's Suzhou Construction Machinery Group. The deal aims to speed up the expansion of its oil refinery towards a planned 1.4 million barrels per day. The additional equipment is expected to support major projects under construction across refining, petrochemicals, agriculture and infrastructure. Dangote said the XCMG agreement will allow it to acquire a wide range of new heavy-duty machinery to complement existing assets deployed for the refinery build-out, which the company expects to complete within 3 years. Gold has dropped more than 2% today as holidays in major markets hit liquidity, while a stronger dollar and easing geopolitical tensions added to the pressure. Spot gold dropped 1.5% to $4,917.90 per ounce after hitting $4.80 per ounce, its lowest level in more than a week. U.S. gold futures for April delivery lost 2.2% to $4,936.60 per ounce. Gold is now trading at $4,931 this afternoon. And now taking a look at the rest of the indicators, one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,352 naira. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula and 3. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shillings 5. And in Zambia, it's 18 kwacha 23. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 22. Russia, 76 rubles 60. In India, it's 90 rupees 69. China, 6 yuan 90. And South Africa is trading at 15 rand 94 cents against the dollar this afternoon. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 84 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold, as mentioned earlier, is at $4,931 per ounce. Platinum at $2,009 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $63.45 a barrel. That's a drop of about $5 since this morning. And that's the business news. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please do send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Your life, your rhythm, your Africa. Channel Africa. Find it for free on Google Play and the Apple App Store. Africa Update, your daily dose of African insights with Lulu Gaboo on Channel Africa.
It is 12:44 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our lawyers say the United States deported another group of third country nationals to Cameroon just days after reports revealed that 9 migrants with no ties to the country were recently sent there last month under the Trump administration. 8 non-Cameroonian migrants arrived in Yaoundé on the latest flight. Our Cameroon-based lawyer, Joseph Awafru, is assisting some of the earlier deportees, and he now joins us on the line. Joseph, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to throw light on the situation. Thank you.
Joseph, thank you for joining us. Now, what legal protections exist in Cameroon for third country nationals deported there?
We should view this in the context of the 1951 Refugee Convention and its 1967 protocol, which of course opened these people are considered refugees and stateless persons. So the relief that is open, within the convention is open to these people as well.
And What steps are you taking to assist the new group of deportees?
So the first step is to be able to establish a connection between IOM, that is the International Organization for Migration, and then the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, both who squarely have the mandate and are the guardians and custodians of the Refugee Conventions and its protocol, and then liaising them with the government authorities who physically have these people and who have the conventional obligations to be able to provide the services that these people need. So one is coordinating between the UN agencies and the country that is hosting them, Cameroon.
And what legal avenues exist if the deportees' home countries would request their return?
Wow. It's a little tricky there, the way you put the question. The home country cannot request their return, because if they did, they would have done that in the first place before they left the United States. You see, the main thing to understand here is that by the United States deporting these people to a third country meant that the United States was conscious of its convention, of its legal obligations within the context of international law and its own laws, not to deport people who are fleeing persecution in their home countries. So, for the fact that these people were deported to a third country means that they had established by clear and convincing evidence, evidentiary standards, that they could not be returned to the country from which they came from.
And how are these deportees coping with their arrival in Cameroon, and what support services are available to them?
Well, I'll take the second part first. The support services that are available to them are very clear within the mandate that the United Nations High Commission for Refugees has vis-a-vis this people. But what is open to them physically now is what I as the attorney, we as the group of legal practitioners helping them, is trying to make sure that the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and the International Organization for Migration, as agents of the United Nations, fulfill their obligations within their mandates. So for now, they are housed somewhere in a protective environment. They don't have their liberties. Their activities of daily living are very restricted. But for full disclosure, from what they said, their feeding conditions are not bad. But their liberty, their freedoms are greatly restricted.
And now I can't speak to you and just not finding out what's happening with the other group that you have been assisting. Can you give us an update on what's happening there?
The first group that came in, I just had a meeting with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the resident, the officers here in the resident office, and they indicated to me that before I entered my appearance to represent them, they had spoken to them and indicated that they were open to applying for asylum. I have advised them of those rights. They are open to asylum and all the rights that are attendant to refugees and stateless persons under international law, especially the 1951 Convention and its 1967 Protocol. But that said, I think what is very important, Lulu, to understand here is that these people were granted some kind of status in the United States, especially withholding of removal, either under American law, Section 241, and its subsections, and under Article 3 of the Convention Against Torture, which means that they cannot voluntarily go back to the countries from where they are fleeing persecution. Here now in Cameroon, having accepted that they be deported to Cameroon, has automatically availed itself of the obligation of taking this, accepting these people as refugees. So I would think that their refugee status or their protective statuses in the United States will be grandfathered here in Cameroon, and Cameroon should be able to honor those obligations within the context of international law.
Well, Joseph, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for making time for us on Africa Update.
Thank you so very much.
That's Cameroon-based lawyer Joseph Awafru joining us on the line. It is 12:51 Central African time.
Channel Africa is moving with the times, and so is our WhatsApp line. We've changed our WhatsApp number, making it even easier for you to stay connected. Send us your voice notes, comments, shout-outs, and song requests to our new WhatsApp number, +27 83 288 6684. That's +27 83 288 6684. Save it, share it, and stay in the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
The Forum for South Africa has raised concerns over the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial after its representative, Malisela Tifo, was denied courtroom access despite prior notice. Allegations include evidence tampering, obstruction of justice and possible bribery involving senior judges. FOSA calls for an independent investigation, transparency, accountability and the protection of the trial's integrity to safeguard public trust in South Africa's justice system. And to discuss this further, we are joined on the line by Advocate Malisela Tifo. Advocate Tifo, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you for having me, Elena.
Now, why were you denied access to the courtroom despite prior written notice? And were there any explanations provided by the court or security authorities for this denial?
Not at all, and it was surprising because, like you're saying, that we did inform the Legal Aid South Africa in writing that will be taking over the matter of Senzo Meyiwa on the 11th of February 2026. And then we wrote, I think it was 8 days before. But we have been writing a lot of letters. I've written the letter to the CEO of Legal Aid South Africa, Ms. Manisipi Bola. She never responded. But on the 11th, when we went there, we got there around 9:10. We got within the premises of the court, Superior High Court. And then we found that the judicators and everybody, they were not there. There was only the stenographer. I then went up the 6th floor to inform the court manager that I've arrived, just to inform you that I'm here. And thereafter, I went to inform the clerk of the judge, Judge Rakompate. So we found them, then we informed them. Then later on, we went down because the court is at the court number GG on the ground. We wait outside until the judiciary arrived. Then, after the judiciary arrived, we requested them that they can go with us to the chambers of the judge so that the judge can know that I'm here, and then those are the issues, the final issues that must be shared within the chambers of the judge. But the judiciary, together with Baloyi, they refused. Then I went up with my junior and the president of FOSA, Mr. Sebo Mshulumpan. Then, on our arrival there at the third floor, indeed, we found the same guy, the flag. They said, we want to see the judge. We went to the judge. Judge came back. He said, no, the judge said he does not want to see me. He said he was even specific. He does not want to see me in particular. He wants to see me advocate here. Okay.
And now, Advocate Defo, how has this affected your ability to monitor or assist in the trial?
Yeah, as you can remember, I'm still watching brief in this matter on the Phosphorus case number 375, 01 of 2019. So this matter, like I said, before we went there, we've already spoken to the family, the Mewa family, and the family of the 5 accused, and the 4 accused that I used to return for. So this has negatively impacted very much on me, and I spoke to the Mewa family. I spoke to people Mewa. They are heartbroken. The Mewa family are heartbroken. They can't believe this. Because the reason Judge Mufati refused me, they said there is a document that says I must not enter the premises of the Victoria High Court. I will remember this letter was written on somewhere in May 2025, written directly by the current acting judge, President Waba, saying that I should not come anywhere in the court insofar as the Mayor case is concerned, because I'm struck of the road. Struck of the road, I don't even know what. He gave me the fraudulent court order that I'm struck of the road. Myself, I'm still very much a member of legal service council, whereby there was never ever any hearing against me. So this was done by the judge himself because of the allegations that I made in this case. Where are these allegations coming from, Lulu?
Yes, please go into that, because the issue of, is there evidence regarding the alleged bribery and tampering with the trial?
Yes. This the allegation comes as far as Dr. Mufati came in this matter, if I'm not mistaken, early 2023, after Justice Marvella. And then he came to continue and finalize this matter. It was somewhere around 2024. No, not 2024, but 2023, in May, June, that they started with trial within a trial. Trial within a trial was informed by the allegation of the confession for accused number 1 and 2. So, for that reason, there was this issue of the current acting judge, but then it was the deputy judge president, that they wanted this confession to be confessed to be the truth.
Yeah.
Well,
Advocate Defo, unfortunately, we have run out of time. We are going to I'll ask Tracy to make time at some point to speak to you further on this particular issue. But thank you so much for joining us on Africa Updates. That's Advocate Malisela Defo joining us on the line. Before we go on Africa Update, just some comments that have come through today, and just comments from Francesco Calvo Garcia, who is in Spain, and he was just saying greetings from Spain. Bolo Zuze also saying, I love it. And Kesias Piri saying, have a wonderful day. And Piri Simon saying he's watching from Zambia, Vizimumba. And these are just some comments coming through on all our social media platforms. And that's how we wrap our Africa Update today. It's been a good one. Continue with us on all our social media platforms. And let's do this again tomorrow. The Upside coming up.
Africa's story shines at 60. Channel Africa.
The African perspective.
It's gone 1 p.m. Central African time. A big thank you to Lulu Gaboo and team. Join them again tomorrow, same time, same place. It's now time for The Upside from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central African time. But first, let's get the latest news.
SABC News. the African perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. About 100 U.S. military personnel have arrived in Nigeria as Washington scales up an operation to target Islamist insurgents. U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Nigeria of failing to protect Christians from Islamist militants in the northwest. Nigeria denies discriminating against any religion, saying its security forces target armed groups that attack both Christians and Muslims. Major General Samaila Uba, a spokesperson for Nigeria's defense headquarters, said the troops would train and advise local forces but not take part in combat. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says Africa will have to be united at the time when the global geopolitical system is changing. The president also responded to the recent statement made by the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio at a security conference in Munich, Germany, where Rubio indirectly endorsed imperialism.
What we should be avoiding is a form of colonialism, where those economies will now begin to target the minerals that they have. It's now time for Africa to do business on its own terms and to make sure that the decisions that we engendered at the G20 on how we treat our endowments, particularly critical minerals, should be dealt with. It should no longer be a case where rock, soil and dust is exported out of Africa.
The democratic state was at the forefront of continued attempts to destroy the restoration of the rule of law. This is according to the former Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner Yasmin Suka in South Africa. Suka was testifying at the TRC case inquiry in Newtown, Johannesburg, on the fifth day of the inquiry, probing what was behind the stalled investigation and prosecution of approximately 300 TRC cases. She says there was a strong sense that those in power were at pains to give perpetrators of human rights violations the opportunity to escape accountability.
You have first the question of the amendments to the prosecution guidelines, impacting on the ability of the NPA's independent decisions to prosecute, depriving them of the resources even then, which would enable them to do their work properly. Once you have those amendments set aside, you then have this reversion to pardons, using that kind of political power to set up a committee that will make decisions which have far-reaching implications for the lives of victims in our country, and you don't even afford them a voice.
Suka is also a board member of the Foundation for Human Rights that has been pursuing the unfinished business of the DRC, says that this perpetrator-biased approach has entrenched impunity in South Africa today. Police in Malawi are searching for 9 suspects who escaped from custody after being caught allegedly smuggling charcoal in a hearse disguised as part of a funeral procession. Forestry officers acted on a tip to intercept the funeral procession at a roadblock 40 kilometers south of the commercial city of Blantyre. Inside the hearse, they found an empty casket and about 30 large bags of charcoal packed underneath. The suspects were briefly detained but later escaped custody, leaving behind the impounded hearse. Charcoal smuggling is common in the southern African country and one of the main causes of rampant deforestation, although this method of transporting the illicit goods is new. The newly elected MPs have taken the oath of office in Bangladesh's capital Dhaka. Later today, President Mohammad Shahabuddin will proceed over the swearing-in of the leader of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, Tariq Rahman, as the country's new Prime Minister. The BBC's Azadeh Moshiri in Dhaka explains.
After a resounding victory, Tariq Rahman has been voted in by a country that is calling for change. Yet he becomes the